And I have to tell you, while I enjoyed all of it, I really, really did. Choir, thank you so much. When those low voices start, my heart just started to pump a little bit faster. I was like, yeah, didn't you just love that? And then the whole choir just joined in. My goodness, what an amazing thing. And that's what we are in. We're in this season of realizing and celebrating God's blessings. That's what Thanksgiving time is all about. So let's keep the blessings going. I want to ask Ms. Ricky to come and Les to come because we have some information that we want to share with you. And as you do, John Paul, I have to tell you, this was so amazing. John Paul was over there playing the drums, and you should have seen his head. It was like, I love it. I just love it. All right, so first of all, Ms. Ricky.
Fantastic. Good morning, church. Good morning. You know, how can I compete with God keeps blessing me? That was just awesome, wasn't it? Yes, God keeps blessing us. I want to give you the total from last week's fundraiser. As most of you know, our fundraiser last week was the mask ball, and our grand total is, this is how God keeps blessing us, $3,205. God has been blessing us. Thank you so much. On behalf of the fundraising team, we do want to thank you. For those of you who made pledges to do the dinners with Chuck, Leslie, and also the lunch with Pastor Kenny, if you haven't turned in your donation yet, please do so. We would greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Ricky, how can they turn in those donations? In the
you can turn them in the offering, or you can see me. But Ricky does it. They're putting me on the spot. But please, if you turn it in the offering, please put in the memo fundraiser, mass fundraiser, or the Oktoberfest fundraiser.
Thank you. Correct, Pastor? All right, give Ricky a hand. So most of you may not know this, but Diversity Richmond is celebrating 20 years. Yeah, this Thursday they will have a big celebration. They're going to feed us. They're going to offer drinks and presentations of 5 grants. They this year are doing their grants a little bit differently. They're going to have 2 grants for $5,000 each, 2 grants. $5,000, $10,000, and $20,000. And so you know how I roll. Once I saw that, I was like, $5,000. Ding, 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 ding. And so we got busy. I called Les and I said, do you have that grant application that we sent in to Diversity Richmond last year? He said, well, yes. I said, would you send it to me? He said, maybe. I was like, wow. Because last year our experience was when we filled out the grant, we asked for $500. And when they read our grant, they gave us $1,000. And the grant was written for the Vicky Hester Food Pantry and the Bread Ministry. So, Les, what do we do this year?
Well, like he said, this year we asked for $5,000 for Becky and the Bread Ministry and
the Good Neighbor Fund.
The Good Neighbor Fund, yeah. And so we both collaborated, and the result is what he said. Basically, they gave us the $5,000. Very, very happy.
What do you think about that?
Just basically to add, I mean, the Diversity Richmond is celebrating its 20th year. They've been doing this since 1999, and every year they have continued to increase the contribution to the community. And I was talking to somebody over there, and they said they're very happy to do it for us this year, and next year they're going to offer even more money. So let's stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Great, thank you. So the thing that I'm most excited about was Bill Harrison, after he read our report. We have to provide 2 reports for our grants from this year, the mid-year report and the final report. He called me and he said, oh my goodness, nobody in Richmond is doing the same kinds of things that MCC Richmond is doing. And then he said this, he has heard about our food pantry and the Good Neighbor Fund and the lounge because we also have helped 6 people get housing this year, which is phenomenal. I mean, we have this community partnership with Diversity to where we send people over there and they will give people a voucher for whatever they need, And so their staff is hearing about us, and this is what they're saying out there. Those gays over there are tearing it up. I was like, no, we're not tearing it up. We're just giving back. And so I am so excited for us and so excited for the ministry that we are seeing. But it is because we had a vision of seeing it differently. We had a vision that the food pantry should be open more than twice a month. It seems like forever ago that we were only open twice a month. We had a vision that MCC Richmond could do more for the community, for the people out there that need help, those who are often forgotten, those who are overlooked, those who are marginalized, and some the people go out on purpose to make life more difficult for those who are food insecure. So we had a vision of opening every week. We then had a new vision of, instead of giving people bags of food that were already made up, we had a vision of seeing the food pantry be different. Our vision was that our food pantry would be a choice pantry, where people could come in and choose whatever foods they like. And so then we started reaching out more with our bread ministry. We started going to the Ram Food Pantry and finding out exactly what kind of bread students eat. We asked at the Williamburg, what kinds of bread do you eat? We said the same thing to Dominion Place, and you know what? I was shocked at Dominion Place because somebody in their administration said to me, we can no longer accept this bread. I said, why not? It's fresh bread. And they said, because some of our residents are leaving it out and it's getting moldy. And so I said to them, can you not encourage your residents to just put the bread in the refrigerator? And then, no. So I said, okay. So now we go over and we deliver bread to residents at Dominion Place from our trunks. We drive up, we open our trunks, and we say, who needs bread? And people come and they get to choose what they want. And we never run out. Between those outreach ministries, the food pantry, the lounge, and the lounge is a self-serve lunch. Sometimes we have 50. This week we had over 50. Sometimes we have 30. We're noticing that it depends on what time of month it is. But people get to come and choose the food that they want, and they're not one bit bashful to tell me what they like. Hot dogs, macaroni and cheese, and french fries. But no other place in Richmond can they go and make their own food, take what they want. And so I'm so proud that we could begin to see that ministry different. Between the Vicki Hesser Food Pantry, the lounge, and the bread ministry, we are seeing on an average of 350 people a week. This ministry happened because different people had a vision. They were able to see things differently. The bread ministry started, I believe, I'm almost with Margaret and Miss Paula started the bread ministry. And we have had to do things differently. We've had to find ways to be more economical. So we've changed the bags and all that. Ministry isn't about convenience. Ministry is seeing things differently and making a difference and getting out and doing the work. That is what the sacred text is telling us. Jesus was teaching his disciples, and the disciples were bragging about, oh, isn't the temple lovely? Look at this, it's such a great place. Look at all of these statues, look at all of these stones. And Jesus had a big warning for them. Remember what the warning was. Let's read it together from our sacred text. Jesus said, you see these things? You see these things? The day will come when one stone won't be left on top of another. Everything will be torn down. I've thought a lot about that this week. Because I believe that what Jesus was saying to the disciples is, don't be so impressed with your building. When I came here, the first thing I saw as David Wilson and Tom Barks drove me down Davis Street, I saw the building and I said to myself, it's even more grand than in the pictures. And it is a grand building, don't you think? Yes. And we are proud of this building. And we're doing everything that we can do to take care of this building. But if our focus is only the building, then we have trouble.
Amen.
Because ministry is not simply the building. Ministry is what happens inside the building. Ministry is what happens when we come into the building to be empowered to go out and make a difference in the world. And hasn't it been a joy to go out this year in many different ways to make a difference in our community? That's because we have seen our ministry differently. We have been determined that this church, the life and ministry of who MCC Richmond is, would go on, that it would be different, and that it would change lives. And I believe that it does all of those things because of your generosity, your willingness to participate within the life and ministry of this church. Give yourselves a hand. Because when we see people come into this building, we realize that as we hug people and welcome them, some who have never been hugged or welcomed by anyone, or some for a very long time, we make a difference. As we gather around tables downstairs to share a lunch together, we make a difference. Because for many, that is the only meal that they do not eat alone during the week. Wrap your mind around that. For some, it's the only meal that they don't have to figure out which place to go to so that they can eat. And so many of you, each and every week, bring food to give because you have a vision of seeing things differently. The other thing that Jesus goes on to tell the disciples is, do not be fooled. Do not be fooled with people that will tell you lies. Do not be fooled by people who will lead you astray. Know the difference. What you see so often is what you choose to see. So what Jesus is saying to his disciples, he starts out by saying, look at this temple. Yes, it's beautiful, but it is not permanent. It is temporary. It takes a lot of effort to not only see and believe that ministry can be different. It takes a lot of effort to do things differently. When I was interviewing here, right from the beginning, it seemed so comfortable for me. Now, the team that was interviewing me had no idea that I had just jumped out of a pool, put on my clergy shirt, and I had my swimming trunks on. Right? I was sitting at a desk, right? But almost immediately, it was an easy connection. It just seemed to fit. And as I interviewed here, I said, I'm the kind of pastor that does not avoid conflict. I'm the kind of pastor that will continue to work on the conflict, not because I enjoy it. Because as you begin to work with conflict, people say nasty things about you. And that has been done here. People have said things about me that are not true. People have made up their mind of who I am. But you know what? That's okay. Because I understand that as you begin to deal with conflict, when people know that the gig is up, that I no longer am the kind of leader that will allow people to yell and scream at each other. I will not allow people to say things that are not kind to one another. I will not allow leaders to get away with not attending worship or not communicating with the pastor. That cannot be. And so I know that in bringing that change, my hope is not to make people feel bad, but to help people deal with whatever brokenness inside them brings them to a place of knowing that as they fight back, it's because they might be losing an uncomfortable, unrealistic sense of power and control that does not allow us to continue to move forward. And so it has been my joy to see many people engage in that process of change. It has been a joy to see people question. I often say, I can be made to change my mind. But you have to be in dialogue to be able to change your mind. And I am proud to say that we have leaders in this church who have always seen it as a church where people could come and be loved up, where people could experience the grace of God. Well, come on. Let's put it all on the table. Let's experience the goodness of God. Let's experience the healing of God by not just seeing things that are temporary, but seeing things that are permanent. Let's not be led by leaders who are not committed, leaders that we have to question if they're committed. We have a board of directors now that is committed. We even had somebody willing to be appointed to the board of directors who didn't want to be. But he did so anyway, out of a willingness to serve God and this congregation. And when we asked this person if he would be willing to run for the treasurer, he knows what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to mention his name. He said, I just don't have time. I just don't have time. And then we started to unpack that. And I learned something new because this individual was willing to be in dialogue with me. I learned that for 7.5 years, this person served on the board of directors. And some times where people said some things that were not kind. Times where people, didn't treat him like he should have been treated. And even though these times are different, this individual said, I'm tired. I can't go back and do it now. But I will support these leaders. And I'm hopeful that this individual will experience further healing as he hears from us. Take the time that you need to be refreshed in your spirit. Take the time that you need to heal. That's what ministry is about. And there's no doubt in my mind that God will send us a treasurer to help us. So, as we engage in our relationship with the divine, may we see that the divine is always working. Sometimes in spots that are uncomfortable for us. Sometimes in times that we question. Sometimes when we doubt. But God is at work in it all. God is at work in it all. The joy of being a person of faith is the hope that God is always present. God is always present, reminding us that we are loved and no matter what. That nothing that we endure is too much for God. And so, could it be that this text was not a prediction, the sacred text today was not a prediction of what is to come, but maybe it's the reminder of our hope. That God is up to bringing a new thing. That God will create a new heaven and a new earth. And that God chooses to partner with us in ways that the new heaven, a new earth, is actualized in the here and now. As we begin to see our ministries differently, as we begin to claim that God is about changing MCC Richmond, can we celebrate that and not be afraid? Can we trust that there will always be enough bags to bag bread to send out? Can we trust that there will always be enough food for the food pantry? Can we trust That whatever we're going through in our own individual lives, that God is up to good. Because God wants nothing more for us to know that we are the beloved of God, that God celebrates us just the way we are. And as we dare come out of our box and move forward, God is still with us, doing great things. When did you think we'd celebrate that Diversity Richmond, that others within our community would say, those gays are up to, they're tearing it up over there. What a compliment that is. That people are seeing God in action through our actions. When did you think that we would raise such a substantial amount of money through fund-raising? Right? And that as we gather, it's not the same old, same old. It's not the same old, same old. But God is up to good because God is changing us. And is it comfortable? No. Is it easy? No. Is it a lot of work? Yes. But as we see the big picture of the kingdom of God, what a joy it is to know that we have made a difference. We like that, don't we? We like the fact that nobody comes into this temple and leaves hungry. We like the fact that we pay our bills on time. We like the fact that we could renovate a building and then begin renovation soon here so that our building can be occupied 6 days a week. So that multiple groups are meeting in our buildings at the same time. And what all of that says to people is, I have an opportunity to grow. Each of the groups that meets here has an opportunity to feel God's blessing through you. Through you. Because it is your gifts, it is your talents, it is your treasures that make all of this happen. And I would say happen, don't you think? I think that sometimes when we get real and honest, we have these seasons of uncomfortableness. And it takes realizing that God understands our uncomfortableness. And that God will put people in our lives to help us learn what we need to learn. So that we can really be free. And that is why this week, as I read this text for the first time, I heard in my mind Isaac Watts' hymn, Joy to the World. Because as we consider the fact that God is always present in our lives, bringing blessing, bringing things, helping us work out the things that are uncomfortable for us. It's the honesty to show up. It's the transparency that we receive in letting others help us along the way that makes the difference. And as we do, as people trust us, when people get vulnerable enough to tell us what's happening in their lives, the real blessing is that many are not shaming and blaming. They're just telling us where they are. And we have the opportunity to remind people that at MCC Richmond, you can be exactly who you are and who you need to be. We say that all people are welcome here, but all behavior is not. And the blessing of that is that we, as we put behavior in check, we have an opportunity to experience the Holy One helping us not act out, helping us not yell, helping us believe that we can do things differently. Because we are the beloved of God. There is nothing that we can do to make God not love us. There is absolutely nothing that we can do. And sometimes, when the pastor or when leaders or when your friends are telling you things that you don't want to hear, we can get tired of their honesty. When I was in a time of my life when it was very dark and very, very ugly, and I treated everybody the way I felt, my therapist said to me, okay, I'm going to use language that you might understand. As I was paying him week after week after week after week, year after year after year, to tell me things about myself that I did not like, Robert said to me very wisely, think of me as your heavenly sandpaper. And I was like, what? Heavenly sandpaper. And this was his response, doing nothing more than smoothing out your rough edges. Think of me as being your heavenly sandpaper, smoothing out your rough edges. And so on this day, we celebrate what God does in our lives. We celebrate that God reminds us that God will not leave us alone, that we will go through difficulties. We don't need to hear about wars and insurrection because for many of us that's been a part of our story that has led us for years. But as we come to the other side, we can see God all along. Aren't we grateful that in 1968, Reverend Elder Troy Perry believed that there could be a church where people would hear the message of God's love and God's grace. And as Troy continued to stand on that vision of seeing the world differently, of seeing the world as God sees it, as seeing people the way God sees them, that the churches, our churches, MCCs were burned, MCCs were jailed, MCCs lost their family members, MCCs went through the hell of the AIDS epidemic and the AIDS reality. But you know what? Not a hair will be touched on your head. Because now we inherit the wonderfulness of God's love that has given us this church, that has given us the ministry that we celebrate. Can we continue to always see others as God sees them? Can we see the world as God sees it? Where people are not segregated by race or gender or sexuality or status or brokenness, but that we would celebrate all people the way God celebrates all people, including, now this will get you, including Democrats, Republicans, and independents. Lord, I said it, but I'm not necessarily completely believing it. But truly, because these are opportunities for us to see things differently. And when we choose to see things, how we choose to see things will motivate how we see God in others. And as we see things as God sees things, our testimony of what God is up to will be different. And we will experience the divine in ways we had never experienced before. Because not only will we see things differently, we will give voice to God's activity differently. And we'll have opportunity to not only grow ourselves, but for our ministry to grow. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited that within a few minutes you will get a booklet that will tell you about the ministries taking place right now at MCC Richmond. You will get a booklet that will give you an understanding of a budget that is very detailed in information. As you read it, celebrate what God has been up to this past year and celebrate what God will be up to next year. You will see the designated funds of all the monies that we were able to give away. A substantial amount of money. Because we chose to see things differently. Because we give voice to God's activity. That is our witness. And it is something to be celebrated. And I want to finish this morning by asking you to pray for the moderator and the governing board. Because it's when leaders begin to not only make change, when they see the realities and they make change, and then they become implemented, that's when the criticism comes, right? I am praying that as the governing board and the moderator unveil the new structure within UFMCC, Universal Fellowship of Metropolitan Community Churches, that people will celebrate our church, our movement in new ways. I loved what the governing board put in one of their paragraphs. It said, MCC has enough. We cannot look at this reorg like we looked at our own church. We cannot see deficits in giving. But as we claim that we are enough, that our ministries will grow and be different, UFMCC's ministries will grow and be different. They will continue to bless the world. That's something to celebrate. And I want MCC Richmond to be a place where we do not criticize the governing board or the moderator, but that we pray for them. Just as you pray for me, just as you pray for the governing board, just as you pray for the leadership of this church, the board of directors, and wait to what a year from now will bring, and we will have the joy of celebrating. Why? Because we chose to see things differently and to be aware of not doing things differently. Will you celebrate with me?
Yes.
Amen. Let's do it.